Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Occult Think Tank. My name is Greg. In today's program, I am going to be talking about the DARPA mind control project. My commentary on this will be at the end. DARPA's secret mind control program. Our thoughts won't be our own. What if the government could change our beliefs through sneaky mind control? Wacky conspiracy? Perhaps. But you'll see, we might have solid reasons for concern. Back in 2002, The Economist ran an article about neuroscience as being the future of mind control. Now, their prediction is closer than ever to becoming a reality. With $100 million funding from President Obama's 10-year BRAIN project, and a whopping $1.3 billion committed from the European Union, this area is undoubtedly expanding. The last few years have seen quite a number of advancements in this field, such as the microchip that mimics the human brain, and the neural dust that could theoretically spy on the human brain. There's even a 3D digital model of the human brain, the fruit of 10 years of research worth of labor between the international team of researchers. Scientists are actively researching new ways to break the final barrier, the human brain. In essence, this is a good thing, or is it? But it can and probably will prove to be a double-edged sword. Naturally, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Programs Agency, wants in on this. Documents leaked by an anonymous whistleblower reveal the agency's interest in mind control through advanced neuroscience, as if their intentions weren't painfully obvious enough. There is an ongoing program focused on transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, which aims to remotely disrupt one's thoughts. TMS is basically the stimulation of the brain's temporal lobe by employing electromagnetic fields. The temporal lobe is involved in processing visual and auditory input. It also governs the creation of new memories. On top of that, it is also the center for emotional association. Here's what TMS does. By tinkering around with someone's temporal lobe, you can effectively influence the way they think. Coupled with sophisticated propaganda mechanisms, we have our mind control. If this seems too far-fetched, it isn't. There's a program going on just as you're reading this. The program is being conducted by Arizona State University Center for Strategic Communications, and DARPA funding for the project is confirmed on their website. There are many who believe this is just the tip of the iceberg. This project is relatively out in the open, and its funding is made public. But then there is the issue of black programs. These programs are classified due to the obvious security-related reasons, and their budgets are sky high. Documents leaked by Edward Snowden detail how the U.S. government allocated $52.8 billion for 2012's black budget. Naturally, the program's goal is to combat terrorism, as this always makes for a good excuse. Should we believe that their only targets are overseas extremists? To what extent does the term extremist apply? In all truthfulness, DARPA aims to influence or disrupt the operation of narratives in people's brains. That is to say, preventing people from thinking certain thoughts, while determining others to believe things they normally wouldn't. It would literally change people's minds. Undoubtedly, such a tool would have immense domestic potential. Bye-bye political dissent. Hello propaganda and crowd control. Our research fundamentally develops the capacity to disrupt cognitive narrative processes, to alter their persuasive power, and further establishes a methodology for introducing narrative validity, transportation, and integration in strategic communication messaging. Once their research determines which areas of the temporal lobe are responsible for cognitive reasoning and narrative formation, their focus will shift towards switching off those areas to create a fundamental basis for understanding how to disrupt or enhance aspects of narrative structure and or brain functioning to minimize or maximize persuasive effects on subject proclivity to engage in political violence. Once this step is completed, the more practical applications arise. Subjects could be determined to commit acts of violence. Ideas could be easily implanted regardless of the subject's willingness to comply. Such a program would also prove refreshing in the field of interrogation. The beans are easily spilled when there's no can, the can being the mind's natural barriers. The scariest part is that DARPA ultimately aims to be able to remotely produce the effects of TMS. Mechanical disruption of narrative processing may be ultimately replicated through targeted strategic communication campaigns that approximate the narrative disruptions induced via magnetic stimulation. What this means is that after mapping out the areas of the brain that respond to certain stimuli, they would effectively convey the effects of TMS without actually subjecting the brain to electromagnetic fields. That's right, folks. Mind control made possible through plain words. Just imagine the possibilities brought on by mass brainwashing. It seems there is a strong possibility that in the future our thoughts won't be our own. The only area where I really disagree with this article is that the idea of mapping the human brain could be a good thing. The only way the mapping of the human brain could be a good thing would be if we would utilize the mapping of the brain and realizing that we can change how a person thinks being used to cure the sociopath or psychopath. That's the only area where I could see, or helping the mentally ill. But the problem comes in if you can use the mapping of the brain in order to bring about a change in somebody that is positive, then possibly or even probably this would be or could be used to bring about a change in somebody that would be to their detriment. I am against mind control, be it from the government or the pulpit. But the aspect of religion using mind control techniques is something that I'll be going into in a future program, because this is something that has been utilized. It doesn't involve mapping the brain or any of that. That involves knowing the tempo of speech and how to get somebody into a hypnotic state to make them more suggestible. But when you combine the aspect of being able to use how something is said, combined with knowing and mapping of the human brain to know what areas control what function, increases the danger exponentially. It is something that I feel we need to be very much aware of, and it is something that reinforces my skeptical nature. I also look at the aspect of this article as potentially creating what would be termed a Manchurian candidate. That somebody could be programmed to think or do something that would go against what they would ordinarily be inclined to do. That is a disturbing idea that shouldn't be done. There are some things that would just be a violation of a person's freedom and individuality. But this is something that I feel people need to be aware of. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Talk to you later, people.